Today I'd like to speak to both Spanish speakers and those of you from the Philippines. Now it's important before we start to clarify which speakers we are talking about. Basically, anyone who speaks a Spanish language could be Castilian Spanish, could be Mexican Spanish, Peruvian, Colombian. These languages are all quite different and very interesting in terms of working with clients from different countries. And even with the Philippines, of course, you have Tagalog, and then you have many other Philippine languages. I believe there are 170 languages from the Philippines. But some of the commonality is the interesting part that transfers into your spoken English. And what we'll talk about is the influence on the intonation, which is very commonly discussed. But in addition to that, voicing becomes one of the most important issues. What I mean by that, again, is the buzz or vibration on the vocal folds. So in a word like easier, for example, Spanish and Filipino speakers will tend to say easier with an S sound. That is, no buzz on the vocal folds. So it's important to begin to distinguish when an S sounds like a Z in American English. A word like please, that pleases me. The Z at the end of the word please, and also the ending, not just the terminal consonant, please, but also that additional agreement ending, please, -z. Both of those have a buzz. Pleases, and then we soften them. For Spanish speakers and those of you from the Philippines, those Z sounds often come out as S's. In addition, D's can sound like T's or TH's to many Spanish speakers. So a word like dad, fairly important because today is Father's Day. So if you want to say Happy Father's Day to your dad, make sure that you are voicing that sound. If you shorten it and if you keep your mouth closed on the A vowel, you can get the word dead. Dead. Dad. Make sure you're saying dad and not dead. Could be quite a misunderstanding there. So we definitely want to open the mouth wide, ah, and then voice the D. Dead. Notice how long it is. Spanish speakers tend to put a th sound at the end. So if you say that, it can sound like the word death, D-E-A-T-H, which of course we don't want it to sound like that. And what can happen is if you're not stopping the sound, so there's a buzz and a stop, you can actually get the th sound on a lot of words that end in D. So make sure that any word that ends in a D sound is a little bit longer than a word that ends in a T sound. The word fast has a T sound at the end, but if you say the word fad, F-A-D, you should get a buzz. It shouldn't sound like fat. That could sound like the word faith, for example, if you're not careful about the vowel. Voicing becomes extremely important in any language that is phonetic. And Spanish and Tagalog and many other similar varieties of those languages or dialects, all of those languages are phonetic, which means you see a sound and you say the sound. In English, we're not phonetic. We often have spellings and we pronounce sounds differently. So it's very important to understand when to make a Z and when to make an S sound. Educate your ear to hear the difference. In addition, we talked briefly about intonation. Now, intonation for most Tagalog speakers and other Filipino speakers and for Spanish speakers tends to go up and down. It can sound like you're singing to the American ear. Now, that's beautiful. It actually sounds lovely. The problem is you may not be taken seriously in the workplace, or people may think you're being humorous or telling a joke, and you may not want that to be the understanding or the intent that people take from you and assume about you. So what you'll want to do is to flatten out your intonation. And how you can do that is by holding the sounds longer. Now you'll remember we talked about using a band, so if you want to keep yourself from going up, then you'll want to use the band to make the speech longer. So if you take that word band, notice again the D I was referring to, how long that is and how voiced. Make sure you're not saying ban and not voicing the D, or bent or banth. Make sure there's actually a D sound, band, and it's long and flat. So these are a few insights that you can look into as you're learning to speak American English. Remember how important it is to have a coach. Random correction, that is when someone throws out, hey, you should be saying that differently. It's called random correction. It doesn't do a lot for you because it's not helping you to make a systematic change. And that's why you need a coach to walk you through systematically, based on your specific issues, how to change your accent. I hope these hints have been helpful to Spanish and Filipino speakers, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.